It happened a couple of months ago, right in the middle of my divorce. My wife and I had finally called it quits after months of fighting, sleepless nights, and that gut-wrenching feeling of watching everything we built just crumble. When she left, she took all her stuff, and I was just sick. You know that feeling when your whole body's heavy, your mind's a mess, and you're just numb? That was me. Alex, my roommate, had been around for years. We weren't super close, but he was always chill and we got along. He knew what I was going through and tried to be there in the way guys are, like not talking too much about it, just beers and distractions. He'd always say, "Man, I got you. Whatever happens, I'm here." And I appreciated it, but I didn't think much beyond that. It was one of those nights when the apartment felt too empty and I felt too alone. Little did I know that everything would change in just a few hours. All right, let's go straight into it. I won't waste your time. So it happened one night when we were both a little drunk. We had a couple of beers, nothing crazy, just enough to feel loose. We were sitting on the couch, talking about random shit, and he brought up the divorce again. He looked at me and said, "Man, you know I'll support you, right? No matter what." It wasn't the first time he said it, but for some reason, that night it hit different. There was this weird vibe between us, like an unspoken tension I hadn't noticed before. Anyway, we kept drinking, scrolling through our phones, and the room was dark except for the glow from the screens. There was this quiet, heavy silence. I was just lying there in my underpants, not really caring about anything. I guess Alex picked up on it because he decided to do something that, looking back, changed everything. He put his phone down, looked at me for a second, and then just slid under the blanket with me. I didn't even know what was happening. Before I could say anything, he wrapped his arms around me from behind. I froze. It was weird, but I didn't pull away. His body was warm, and the way he hugged me felt safe. I hadn't felt that kind of comfort in a long time. I was lying there, my mind racing, trying to process what was happening. I should have pulled away, said something, but I didn't. I just lay there, feeling his arms around me. It was quiet, and all I could hear was our breathing. Then things escalated. Fast. Before I knew it, his hand moved up to my chest, and I felt him press closer. My heart was pounding. I didn't know if I was scared, confused, or something else. My brain was screaming, but my body didn't move. He shifted a bit, and I felt his breath on the back of my neck. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just a comforting hug. There was something more here, something I hadn't expected. I stayed still, my mind racing. Then he turned me around to face him. I barely had time to react before he grabbed my face and kissed me. Hard. I was about to shout, like, "What the hell are you doing?" But the words never came out. His lips were on mine, and I couldn't push him away. At first, I tried. My hands went up to his chest, and I was about to shove him back, but my grip loosened. I don't know how to explain it. It was like my body betrayed me. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe it knew something I didn't. The kiss deepened, and I found myself kissing him back. It was intense, raw. I'd never kissed a guy before, but in that moment, it didn't matter. It felt right. I opened my eyes for a second and saw him looking at me, his eyes searching mine. We didn't say anything. We didn't need to. We just kept going. My hands started exploring his body. He's muscular, and I hadn't really noticed before. I mean, I knew he worked out, but feeling it was different. My hands moved across his chest, down his arms. It was like I was discovering something completely new, something I didn't know I wanted. His hands were on me too, and every touch sent a shiver through me. Then he moved lower, crawling under the blanket. He was on his knees, and, well, you get the idea. I can't go into detail, but you know what happened next. It was all a blur of sensations, heat, and confusion. Everything I thought I knew about myself was being rewritten in real time, and I couldn't stop it. That moment hit me like a ton of bricks. When Alex moved under the blanket, my brain was in overdrive, but my body was fully locked in. I'd never felt that way before. Like I was on the edge of shouting, "What the hell are you doing?" But the words never came out. Instead, my breath just caught in my throat, and I was frozen. My mind kept screaming, "This is wrong. This is new." But there was this other part of me, something deeper, that was like, "Let it happen." I felt his hands on me, rough but careful. When he came back up, I saw his face in the faint light. His eyes were locked on mine, intense and searching, almost like he was waiting for me to stop him. And maybe I should have. Maybe I wanted to. But I didn't. Instead, I just stared back at him, breathing hard, trying to figure out what the hell was going on inside me. Then he leaned in and kissed me again, harder this time. It wasn't like any kiss I'd had before. There was no hesitation, no awkwardness, just raw, electric energy. My first instinct was to push him away. My hands went up to his chest, fingers digging into his skin, but the strength behind it faded fast. Instead of shoving him back, I found myself gripping him tighter. I don't even know when it happened, but my body just gave in. The tension melted, and I kissed him back. And damn, the way he kissed. It was like he knew exactly what he was doing, but there was this urgency too. Like he couldn't get close enough. Our breathing got heavy, and I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears. Every touch, every movement, it was like I was discovering parts of myself I didn't even know existed. I ran my hands across his chest, feeling the hard lines of his muscles, tracing them like I was mapping out something new. I'd never touched a man like that before. It was different. His hands were everywhere too, on my neck, down my back, pulling me closer. There was this heat between us, this connection that I couldn't explain. It wasn't just physical, though that was a huge part of it. It was like something inside me cracked open. All the walls I'd built, all the things I thought I knew about myself, they just crumbled. And I let them. At one point he shifted, crawling back under the blanket, and I knew what was coming. My whole body tensed up, and there was this mix of nerves and anticipation. I mean, I had no idea what to expect. I was on this roller coaster of confusion and desire, and there was no getting off. I felt his hands on my thighs, his breath hot against my skin, and then, yeah. I can't go into details, but you get the idea. It was intense. More intense than anything I'd ever felt before. My body reacted in ways I didn't know it could. Every nerve ending was on fire, and I couldn't think straight. There was no room for doubt or second guessing. It was just raw, physical sensation. I felt my back arch, my breath hitching, and I swear I could barely hold it together. And the sounds he made, it was like music, these soft, low moans that made everything even more intense. But then, right at the peak of it all, there was this knock at the door. It was like a bomb went off in the room. We both froze, eyes wide, hearts racing. For a second, we just stared at each other, panic setting in. Who the hell knocks at that hour? We scrambled, trying to untangle ourselves and make it look like nothing had happened. I grabbed the blanket, trying to cover myself up, while Alex jumped out of bed, pulling on his pants. He opened the door, trying to play it cool, and it turned out to be a courier. My ex had sent someone to pick up a few more of her things, some boxes she'd forgotten. Perfect timing, right? I couldn't even look at the guy. My face was burning, and my heart was still pounding, but for a completely different reason now. Alex signed for the boxes, closed the door, and just stood there for a second, staring at me. We didn't say anything, we just kind of laughed. It was that awkward, breathless kind of laugh you get when you've just narrowly avoided disaster. Then he walked back over, sat on the edge of the bed, and we both just sat there in silence, trying to process what the hell had just happened. I didn't know what to say, and I could tell he didn't either. We just sat there, our shoulders touching, both of us trying to catch our breath. That night changed everything. I didn't know what was coming next, but I knew one thing for sure, nothing was ever going to be the same. I was still catching my breath when Alex sat next to me on the edge of the bed, both of us wrapped in that thick silence. The knock on the door had killed the moment, but the tension was still there, buzzing under the surface. My mind was spinning, trying to piece together what the hell had just happened. I glanced over at him, but he was staring straight ahead, like he was lost in thought too. Finally, he broke the silence. "Well, that was unexpected," he muttered, running a hand through his hair. We both kind of chuckled, but it was that weird, nervous laugh when you don't really know what else to do. I didn't know if I should say something or just pretend it didn't happen. I was still trying to wrap my head around it. I mean, I just hooked up with my roommate, my male roommate. That wasn't something I'd ever even thought about before. I never looked at a guy that way, never even considered it, but there I was, sitting in bed, still feeling the heat from where his hands had been, where his lips had touched. And the craziest part, I didn't regret it. I didn't feel weird or ashamed. I just felt confused, like a door had been opened and now I couldn't close it. Alex looked over at me and our eyes met. For a second, it felt like we were both waiting for the other to say something, but neither of us did. Instead, he just stood up, stretched, and said, "I'm gonna grab some water." He walked out of the room, and I just sat there, staring at the floor, trying to process everything. My heart was still racing, my body still tingling. I couldn't stop replaying it all in my head. The way he kissed me, the way his hands felt, the way I just let it happen. When he came back, he handed me a glass of water and sat down next to me again. We didn't talk about it. We just sat there, drinking our water, the silence stretching between us. It wasn't awkward though. It was like we both needed time to process what had just happened. Eventually, we both just kind of shrugged it off and went to bed. I didn't know what to expect the next morning. Would things be weird? Would we pretend it didn't happen? I barely slept, my mind running in circles all night. The next day, I woke up to the sound of Alex moving around in the kitchen. I got up, threw on some clothes, and walked out there, feeling this weird mix of anxiety and anticipation. He looked up when I walked in, and for a second, we just stared at each other. Then he smiled. "Morning," he said, like nothing had happened. I grabbed a cup of coffee, trying to act normal, but I could feel the tension between us. I couldn't stop thinking about the night before, and I had no idea what he was thinking. Finally, he set his cup down and looked at me. "So, about last night," he started, his voice careful. My heart was pounding. I didn't know what he was going to say, but I braced myself for it. "I've never done that before," he admitted, his eyes locked on mine. "With a guy, I mean." There was a pause, like he was waiting for me to react. I just nodded, my throat dry. "Me neither," I said, my voice barely a whisper. He smiled, this kind of shy, nervous smile. "I liked it," he said, and those 3 words hit me like a punch to the gut. "You were different. I don't know. Gentle. It felt right." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'd spent the whole night worrying about what he'd think, what he'd say, and here he was, telling me he wanted more. "We should do it again," he said, his voice low. "If you want to." My heart was racing. I didn't know what to say, but I knew what I wanted. I nodded. "Yeah," I said, my voice barely steady. "I want to." That night, we waited until our neighbor left for a party. The second we heard the door close, it was like a switch flipped. We didn't even make it to the bedroom. It was intense, raw, like we'd both been holding back and couldn't wait any longer. It wasn't perfect at first. There was this mix of excitement and nerves, and yeah, it hurt a little at first. Alex isn't exactly small, and I'd never done anything like that before. But he was patient, careful. His hands were strong but gentle, and he kept checking on me, making sure I was okay. And once I got used to it, damn. The pain faded, and all that was left was this incredible feeling. It was like nothing I'd ever experienced before. He held me close, his hands gripping my hips, his body pressed against mine. Every touch, every movement, it was like he knew exactly what I needed. I didn't just feel it physically. There was this deeper connection, something I couldn't explain. It was more than just sex. It was like we were discovering something together, something we hadn't even known we were looking for. We hung out in the living room, just like we always did. The TV was on, but neither of us was really paying attention. There was this quiet energy between us, this anticipation. I didn't know how to bring it up or if I even needed to. Every time he moved, every time he shifted closer, I felt my heart race. I was hyper aware of him. The way his shirt stretched across his chest, the way his hands rested on his thighs. It was like seeing him in a completely different light. Eventually, he broke the silence. "So last night," he said, his voice low. He wasn't looking at me. His eyes were fixed on the floor. "Yeah," I replied, my throat dry. I didn't know where he was going with this, but my pulse was pounding in my ears. He glanced up at me, his eyes searching. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. His voice was quiet, almost hesitant, like he was afraid of what I might say. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my breathing. "Me neither," I admitted. It felt like a weight had lifted, just saying those words out loud. He smiled, this slow, almost relieved smile, and I felt my chest tighten. "I want to, do it again," he said, his voice trailing off. He looked at me, waiting for my reaction. I didn't hesitate. "Yeah," I said, my voice steady this time. "I want to too." There was this pause, this moment where everything hung in the balance. Then he reached over and touched my hand. It was a simple gesture, but it sent a shiver through me. His fingers curled around mine, and I felt that same electricity from the night before. Without saying a word, he stood up, pulling me with him. We ended up back in my room, the door closing behind us with a soft click. The air was thick with anticipation, and my heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst. He stood there for a moment, just looking at me, his eyes dark and intense. Then he closed the distance between us, his hands on my face, his lips on mine. The kiss was slow at first, almost tentative, like we were both trying to figure out where this was going. But it didn't stay that way for long. The heat between us built fast, and before I knew it, we were tearing at each other's clothes. His shirt came off first, and I couldn't help but run my hands over his chest, tracing the lines of his muscles. He was solid, strong, and I could feel the tension in his body, the way he was holding himself back. He pushed me back onto the bed, his hands on my hips, his mouth trailing down my neck. Every touch set my skin on fire. I'd never felt anything like it. It was intense, overwhelming in the best way. His hands were everywhere, exploring, teasing. When he pressed his body against mine, I could feel how much he wanted me, and it drove me crazy. Things escalated quickly, and yeah, it hurt at first. I wasn't used to it, and Alex, well, he's not small. But he was careful, taking his time, making sure I was okay. His hands were strong but gentle, and he kept whispering to me, asking if I was all right. It didn't take long for the pain to fade, replaced by this incredible sensation that I can't even describe. It was like every nerve in my body was on fire, and I couldn't get enough. He held me close, his hands gripping my hips, guiding me. The way he moved, the way he looked at me, it was like he was seeing me, really seeing me, for the first time. And I saw him too. Not just my roommate, not just the guy I'd known for years. There was something more there, something deeper. The sounds he made, the way he whispered my name, it was almost too much. I felt my body tense, my back arching, and he held me even tighter. It was intense, raw, and I didn't want it to end. When it finally did, we were both breathless, lying tangled together in the sheets. He didn't say anything at first. He just pulled me close, my head resting on his chest, his fingers running through my hair. I could feel his heartbeat, strong and steady, and it was the most comforting thing I'd felt in a long time. I lay there, trying to process everything. I couldn't believe how fast it had happened, how good it had felt. I'd never had sex like that before, so intense, so connected. It wasn't just about the physical stuff, though that was incredible. It was more than that. There was this emotional connection, this unspoken understanding between us. He kissed the top of my head, his hand still stroking my hair. "That was amazing," he whispered. I couldn't even respond. I just nodded, my eyes closed, trying to catch my breath. We stayed like that for a long time, just lying there, wrapped up in each other. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to break the moment. Everything had changed, and I didn't know what was going to happen next. But in that moment, it didn't matter. All that mattered was him. He's perfect, guys. I've never met anyone like him. What he does in bed is incredible, but it's more than that. It's the way he looks at me, the way he holds me. I didn't know I could feel this way. I didn't know this was even possible. And I don't know what's going to happen next, but for now, I'm just holding on to it. Honestly, I was still in shock. Just yesterday, I was signing divorce papers, watching my wife pack up the last of her things and walk out of the apartment. I'd spent years in that marriage, thinking I had my life figured out. I never imagined it would end like that. And I definitely never imagined that less than 24 hours later, I'd be lying in bed with my roommate, another guy, and feeling things I didn't even know I was capable of feeling. It was like everything had flipped upside down overnight. My whole world had changed, and the craziest part, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I kept replaying the night in my head, every detail burned into my memory. The way Alex kissed me, the way he touched me. It was all I could think about. I spent the entire day at work in a daze. I couldn't concentrate on anything. All I could think about was getting back to the apartment, back to him. By the time I finally got home, I was buzzing with nervous energy. I didn't know what to expect, but I knew I wanted more. I couldn't wait to see him, to feel his hands on me again. But this time, I didn't want to wait for him to make the first move. I wanted to take control. I wanted to see what it felt like to be the one leading. I walked through the door, and there he was, sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone. He looked up when I walked in, and there was this look in his eyes, like he'd been waiting for me to. My heart was pounding, but I didn't let it show. I just gave him a small smile and headed straight for the bathroom. I needed a minute to collect myself, to calm the nerves. I stood under the hot water, letting it wash over me, trying to steady my breathing. My mind was racing, already playing out what I wanted to happen next. I knew Alex would be out there waiting. I wrapped myself in one of the towels hanging on the rack, my wife's pink one, the one she'd left behind, and took a deep breath. This was it. I wasn't going to overthink it. I was just going to go for it. When I walked back into the living room, Alex's eyes widened. I could see the surprise, the anticipation. I didn't say anything. I just walked over to him, stopping right in front of where he was sitting. The room was quiet, the tension thick in the air. "Take it off," I said, my voice low. He didn't need to be told twice. He stood up, his eyes locked on mine, and reached for the towel. As soon as it hit the floor, he dropped to his knees, his hands on my hips, pulling me closer. There was this intensity in his eyes, this hunger, and it sent a shiver through me. What happened next was intense. I can't even describe it. He knew exactly what he was doing, and it drove me crazy. I had to steady myself, my hands in his hair, my breath coming in short gasps. It was overwhelming, almost too much, but I didn't want it to stop. Every nerve in my body was on fire, and I could feel myself getting lost in it. But this time, I didn't want to just let him take the lead. I wanted more. I pulled him up, guiding him back toward the bedroom. By the time we got there, we were both breathless, the air between us charged. I pushed him onto the bed, straddling him, taking control. It felt powerful. I'd never felt anything like it before. Being on top, watching his face, seeing the way he responded to me, it was intoxicating. I ran my hands over his chest, his shoulders, feeling the strength beneath my fingertips. He let out this soft sound, almost a sob, and it sent a thrill through me. I wanted more. I needed more. With every movement, every touch, he reacted, his hands gripping my hips, his breath hitching. The sounds he made, the way his body tensed beneath me, it was like I could feel everything he was feeling. And it wasn't just physical. There was this deeper connection, something I couldn't explain. It was like we were perfectly in sync, like we were discovering something new together. I leaned down, pressing my lips to his, and he kissed me back with this intensity that took my breath away. I could feel the tension building between us, the pressure mounting. Every movement, every sound, it all built to this incredible crescendo. I could see it in his eyes, feel it in the way his body responded to mine. And then, everything exploded. It was like nothing I'd ever experienced before. My body arched, every muscle tensed, and I could feel him shudder beneath me. We were both breathless, clinging to each other, riding out the waves of pleasure together. When it was over, I collapsed onto his chest, my head resting just above his heart. I could feel it pounding, strong and steady, and it was the most comforting sound in the world. His hand came up, fingers threading through my hair, and I closed my eyes, letting myself sink into the moment. I couldn't believe how fast it had all happened. Just yesterday, I was finalizing my divorce, thinking my life was falling apart. And now, here I was, lying in bed with Alex, feeling things I didn't even know I was capable of feeling. It was like my whole world had shifted, and nothing would ever be the same again. He tilted my chin up, making me look at him. "You're amazing," he whispered, his voice rough. I didn't know what to say. I just smiled, my heart full, my mind still trying to catch up. I don't know where this is going. I don't know what it means. But right now, I don't care. All I know is that it feels right. And I can't wait to see what happens next. But now you will be blown away, guys, let me tell you. So yeah, it's finally the day we were supposed to sign the papers, you know, the big let's end this chapter of our lives moment. I mean, I was ready for it. Hell, I'd already been mentally divorced for months. She had her squad with her, which didn't surprise me at all. Her parents, her best friend, and probably even the neighbor's dog if she could have snuck him in. The whole support team was there, like it was some kind of cheerleading event for her. Me, I showed up solo. I didn't need anyone holding my hand through this. I just wanted to get in, sign the papers, and move the hell on. But of course, Alex had other plans. Let me set the stage for you. Alex, man. He's hard to put into words. We weren't just buddies. We had this weird, electric energy whenever we were around each other. Like magnets, you know? We'd push and pull, always circling each other, but never quite making sense. And yeah, there'd been moments between us. Things I didn't really understand at first and honestly wasn't ready to admit out loud. But whatever we had, it wasn't something I was expecting to come up today of all days. Anyway, there we were, in the hallway of the registry office. It was one of those sterile, soulless places with beige walls and those cheap plastic chairs that make your back hurt after sitting for 5 minutes. People were coming and going, newlyweds glowing with happiness, couples like us with the vibe of a funeral procession. The whole scene was surreal. My soon-to-be ex-wife was busy chatting with her entourage, throwing me the occasional glare like I'd personally ruined her life, and I was just leaning against the wall, zoning out, counting down the minutes till this was all over. Then Alex walks up to me. He was dressed sharp, as always, with that cocky grin that could either charm or piss you off, depending on your mood. He looked out of place here, like he'd wandered into the wrong building and stayed for the drama. "Hey," he said, jerking his head toward the bathrooms at the end of the hall. "Come with me for a sec." Now, I don't know why I followed him. I should have known better. But he had this way of pulling you in, like gravity, and before I even processed what was happening, I was walking behind him toward the men's room. The hallway felt like it stretched forever, and my brain was screaming, "What the hell are you doing?" We stepped into the bathroom. It was empty, thank God. For about 3 seconds, I thought maybe he was just going to give me some pep talk or crack a joke to lighten the mood. But nope, that's not Alex's style. Without a word, he grabbed my wrist and pulled me into one of the stalls, locking the door behind us. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought it might just leap out of my chest and land on the dirty tile floor. Before I could even ask what the hell he was doing, he turned to me, his eyes locked on mine, and smirked. That damn smirk. It always got me. And then, out of nowhere, he dropped to his knees and tugged at my belt. "Dude, are you insane?" I hissed, my voice barely above a whisper. "This is not the time or place." "Relax," he muttered, his hands working quickly, efficiently. Like this was just another Tuesday for him. "You look like you need to unwind. Trust me." I was frozen, stunned, but I didn't stop him. I couldn't. My brain had completely short-circuited, and all I could think about was how his touch felt, how it always felt. Like fire and electricity, and every bad decision I'd ever made rolled into one. The absurdity of the situation hit me like a freight train. Here we were in a public restroom at my divorce signing, and this guy was, well, you know. And it wasn't like we were alone. I could hear people coming in and out, the shuffle of shoes on tile, the squeak of the faucet as someone washed their hands, the occasional flush of a toilet. My adrenaline was through the roof, and I was half convinced someone was going to yank the stall door open and catch us. I bit my lip so hard I thought I might draw blood, trying to keep any sound from escaping. Meanwhile, Alex was completely unfazed. He was in his element, like he thrived on the chaos and the risk of it all. He had this ridiculous confidence, this cocky assurance that everything would go exactly the way he wanted it to. And damn it, he was right. Minutes felt like hours. I was hyper-aware of everything. The cool air on my skin, the rough texture of the stall door against my back, the distant hum of conversation from the hallway. And then, just like that, it was over. He stood up, brushed off his knees like he'd just tied his shoe, and grinned at me. "Feel better?" he asked, his tone casual, like we just had a chat about the weather. I couldn't even form words. I just stared at him, my mouth hanging open like an idiot. He'd unlocked the stall door, peeked out to make sure the coast was clear, and strolled out like nothing had happened. Meanwhile, I was left standing there, trying to process what the hell had just gone down. When I finally pulled myself together and walked back out into the hallway, Alex was already leaning against the wall, scrolling through his phone like he hadn't just completely derailed my life in the most insane way possible. My ex-wife shot me a look, half suspicious, half annoyed. "Where the hell were you?" she asked. "Bathroom," I muttered, avoiding her gaze. The rest of the signing was a blur. My hands were shaking as I scribbled my name on the papers, and all I could think about was Alex and what had just happened. I mean, who does that? Who shows up at their friend's divorce and pulls a stunt like that? But that's Alex for you. He's a walking disaster, and I'm the idiot who keeps getting caught in the crossfire. Looking back now, I still don't know what to make of it. Part of me wants to punch him for being such an arrogant, reckless bastard. But another part of me, well, let's just say I'm not as mad as I probably should be. This guy is such a badass. You know, the thing about Alex and me is that it's so different from what I had with my ex-wife. I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out why, but honestly, I think it comes down to the way we approach each other. With her, there was always this unspoken layer of expectations. Like, even when things were good, there was this invisible list of rules and roles we were supposed to play. If I missed something, if I didn't say or do the right thing, it would just hang in the air. No one would address it directly, but it was there, weighing down the whole dynamic. We'd end up in these silent battles, where neither of us would say what we were really thinking. With Alex, it's the opposite. There's no fog, no guesswork. If he's annoyed, he says so. If I'm pissed, I call him out. And somehow, it's never a big deal. We don't tiptoe around each other or try to soften the blow of the truth. It's refreshing, really, to just exist with someone without all the extra noise. I think part of it is that we don't try to label or define what we're doing. There's no playbook for us to follow, no societal script telling us how we should act or feel. I guess you could say we're both bi, but even that label feels irrelevant when it comes to us. It's not about fitting into some box or checking off some identity. It's just about him and me. We're not trying to build some grand, perfect relationship. We're just good together. It's simple, but not in a boring way. It's simple in a way that feels real. Male love, at least with Alex, feels different too. It's not about sweeping gestures or carefully curated romance. It's raw, straightforward, and sometimes messy. There's this physicality to it, this unspoken understanding that doesn't need to be overanalyzed. It's less about saying the right things and more about showing up, being present, and being honest. Like, I don't need to decode his emotions or guess what's on his mind. If he's into something, he's into it. If he's not, he'll let me know. It's not about games or power struggles. It's about being on the same level and treating each other like equals. And yeah, there's definitely passion there. I mean, Alex isn't exactly subtle, as you've probably guessed. But it's not just about the physical side of things, though that's a part of it. It's about the way he makes me feel seen, like he gets me in a way I didn't even realize I needed. With him, I can just be myself, flaws, bad days, and all. There's no pretense, no pressure to be anything other than who I am. That kind of connection, it's rare. It's not something I had with my ex-wife, and it's not something I've felt with anyone else. It's not better or worse, it's just different. And maybe that's what makes it so damn good. We don't need to overcomplicate things or try to mold our relationship into something it's not. We're just two people who, for whatever reason, fit. And honestly, that's enough for me.